The U.S. has barred entry for anyone who wants to investigate our war crimes. Yeah, that's right. On Friday, Mike Pompeo came out saying that he was revoking the visas for any member of the International Criminal Court who wants to investigate us. Here's the article from AP News saying the United States will revoke or deny visas to International Criminal Court personnel seeking to investigate alleged war crimes and other abuses committed by U.S. forces in Afghanistan or elsewhere, and may do the same with those who seek action against Israel, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said on Friday. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with the International Criminal Court, this is the court that is in the Netherlands. It is, the member states include Canada, Mexico, Australia, the EU, all of our Western allies. They're all part of this International Criminal Court, but the United States refuses to join, and we haven't joined ever. And some administrations have been more hostile to it towards the others. Republicans are extremely hostile towards the ICC, and Democrats are still keeping it at arm's length, don't really want to join it. We don't really want to be investigated for all those war crimes that we've committed. The ICC was created during the Nuremberg trials. It was for Nazi Germany and for the Nazis to be prosecuted for the war crimes, and it has continued on to this day as a body that is, obviously, if something happens to you, let's say you're in a town or in a village or you're wherever there's U.S. troops and they commit a war crime against you, they do something heinous. The war crimes are genocide. Genocide, crimes against humanity, any other war crimes, crimes of aggression. This is what the ICC ends up investigating. Something happens to you, atrocious. I mean, we've actually had instances of this in the past that we know of that have been tried in U.S. courts, like I don't want to talk about them in specifics because then I'm going to be demonetized on this channel right here. But some really bad stuff has happened with some of these soldiers. And who would you go to if this happened to you? If something really horrible happened to you or one of your loved ones by a U.S. soldier, who would you go to? Would you go to another U.S. soldier and tell them? Do you think that they would actually do something about it? Wouldn't you be afraid of U.S. soldiers after something like that? I mean, what would make you want to trust another soldier if one did something to you? What makes you think that you're going to trust the other? I mean, you're not. So you're going to have to report this crime to somebody. And that somebody is going to have to investigate that crime. And it's not going to be the U.S. government when the U.S. government is the person that you're complaining about. So that is why we have the ICC. That is why it's an important entity in the international world. As we have all of these troops all around the globe, as we have these endless wars, it is important that there is a court body that is able to investigate these crimes. Because who else are you going to talk to? So it goes on to say here that U.S. officials have long regarded the Netherlands-based ICC with hostility, arguing that American courts are capable of handling any allegations against U.S. forces and questioning the motives of an international court. Yeah. Once again, but are you going to go to the U.S. and complain about the U.S.? The ICC and its supporters, including human rights groups that denounced Pompeo's announcement, argued that it is needed to prosecute cases when a country fails to do so or does an insufficient job of it. Yeah. The visa restrictions would apply to any ICC employee who takes or has taken action to request or further such an investigation into allegations against U.S. forces and their allies in Afghanistan that include forced disappearances and torture. We don't want to be investigated for any of that. No. Pompeo said the restrictions may also be used to deter ICC efforts to pursue allied personnel, including Israelis, without the allies' consent. Yeah, don't go after our friends either. Don't you dare go after us or our friends for all those war crimes we're committing. The ICC prosecutor has a pending request to look into possible war crimes in Afghanistan that may involve Americans. The Palestinians have also asked the court to bring cases against Israel. Speaking directly to ICC employees, Pompeo said, if you are responsible for the proposed ICC investigation of U.S. personnel in connection with the situation in Afghanistan, you should not assume that you still have or will get a visa or will be permitted to enter the United States. So don't you dare even think about investigating us for war crimes. That comment suggested that action may have already been taken against the ICC prosecutor who asked last year to formally open an investigation into allegations of war crimes committed by Afghan National Security Forces, Taliban, and Haqqani network militants, as well as U.S. forces and intelligence officials in Afghanistan since May of 2003. From what I understand, they have 4,000 complaints of war crimes. The prosecution's request says there is information that members of the U.S. military and intelligence agencies committed acts of torture, cruel treatment, outrages upon personal dignity, rape, and sexual violence against conflict-related detainees in Afghanistan and other locations, principally in the 2003 to 2004 period. The United States has never been a member of the ICC. The Clinton administration in 2000 signed the Rome Statute that created the ICC, but had reservations about the scope of the court's jurisdiction and never submitted it for ratification to the Senate, where there was broad bipartisan opposition to what lawmakers saw as a threat to U.S. sovereignty. That is right, because guess what? Republicans and Democrats are warmongers. Our government is filled with warmongers on both sides of the aisle. So getting anybody to agree with this sort of thing is rare. Dennis Kucinich was one that said, hey, listen, we need to be a member of the ICC. But you know what happened to Dennis Kucinich? So you get buried whenever you're anti-war. Nobody likes anti-war. Tulsi Gabbard's anti-war. They don't like her. This past September, Bolton said the ICC was a direct threat to U.S. national security interests, and he threatened its personnel with both visa revocations and financial sanctions should it try to move against Americans. Pompeo said Friday that more measures may come. The ICC said in a statement it was established by a treaty supported by 123 countries and that it prosecutes cases only when those countries failed to do so or did not do so genuinely. That's right. So look, if we're willing to actually go after and investigate and prosecute the war crimes that have been complained about, then the ICC says, look, we won't need to intervene. We'll let you handle it. But if you're not going to, if you're just going to brush it under the rug, we have to do some investigating, because how can we just let this person say that they were raped, they were tortured, that something horrible happened to them, and we're supposed to just turn a blind eye to this while you guys sit around and do nothing? No, that is not what we should be standing for as Americans. This is outrageous. The court is an independent and impartial judicial institution crucial for ensuring accountability for the gravest crimes under international law, the statement said. The ICC, as a court of law, will continue to do its independent work undeterred in accordance with its mandate and the overarching principle of the rule of law. It seems to me that the only way that they're going to be able to get around this is to have American citizens do the investigating. So you can't revoke the visa of an American citizen who doesn't have a visa, who can be here how and when they choose to be here because they're Americans. That would seem to be the only way around this. I'm not sure what they're planning on doing, but that's to me the only solution is you're just going to have to get Americans to investigate on behalf of the ICC. But this is outrageous. We don't want to be investigated for war crimes. We want to brush them under the rug. We want to ignore them. We want to continue to commit war and atrocities around the globe. War is ugly. War is the senses are heightened. People do really, really horrific, horrible things. And when they do, they need to be prosecuted for this. We cannot allow this. And we certainly can't go around pointing the finger at all these other people in Syria, Assad, and Maduro in Venezuela and say, oh my gosh, crimes against humanity, war crimes, look at them, they're so horrible and evil. And then we come out and say, but we don't want to be investigated. And don't you dare look at Israel either. That's where we're at. Okay.